A very warm welcome to you all today. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so pleased to be hosting this online event for Mental Health Awareness Week 2025 on the theme of Reset, Recharge and Reconnect for senior leaders and managers. So while this event is focused on this subset of professionals, this can also appeal to any individual who's just looking to gain more self-empowerment in looking after their mental health and well-being in daily life, and that can also benefit them in their work. So I will go ahead and screen share now. There we go. Hopefully you can all see that. So welcome everybody. I'm so pleased to be here, and we've got lots to get through in the time that we have together today. So the outcomes of what I want to share with you today is these 3 points. So reset, what does this mean? To stop, breathe, and tune into what is most important to you. We all lead very busy lives, and the focus of this event is really to give you an opportunity to just stop, pause, and reflect for yourself. It is primarily focused at senior leaders and managers because we know, especially people who work in these roles, particularly find it most difficult to do that for themselves. And studies have even shown that senior leaders and managers are more susceptible to high stress levels and mental health concerns. So that was a part of what drove us to want to create this event during Mental Health Awareness Week, which the theme is community for this year. So it's very apt thinking about how you can support yourself as well as your community, because it's an extension of you, right? When you're looking after yourself, it helps you to feel better able to support those around you as well. Recharge is nurturing a long-term routine that prioritizes your mental well-being. It can be so easy to just sort of step away from that when you've got so many responsibilities in your life, so many things going on. And this hopefully gives you a chance to just pause and reflect for yourself and think about how you might like to reshift your focus in terms of well-being. And reconnect. So crafting a plan to embrace these practices we're going to go through today into your daily life, which as a result will benefit you and your community and the team around you. The inspiration behind this event is also off the back of the launch of our recent online course, Manager's Introduction to Mental Health at Work. So I'll share a little bit more information about that at the end of the session today as well. And in the meantime, I really hope that this content can support and empower and help you all. As I'm going through this as well, feel free to share anything you'd like in the chat box to connect with each other. As I said before, the theme, especially for this year for Mental Health Awareness Week, is community. So it's also a really beautiful benefit that you're all coming here together today, to connect on this topic. So, please feel free to connect with one another too. And any points that you want to share or stories or any reflections, you're welcome to if you'd like in the chat box. So, the importance of workplace well-being. Why is this so important? I feel like this is an important place to just start with, just to reflect on these points. So, increasing studies have shown that it does increase and boost your productivity. So, by investing in workplace well-being, but when companies do choose to invest in this way, and managers and senior leaders, can play a really big part in that for their teams as well. That it means that you're less likely to have sick days or need to take an extended period of time off work due to stress or potentially burnout. And for those of you who are coming to this CARMA event for the first time today, a huge part of what we do centers on the education around stress and burnout, the difference between the two and how to prevent it from escalating. So we know that this is a huge issue. The latest studies as well show that 1 in 6 adults struggle with a mental health problem. And dealing with stress and burnout at work is a primary focus of that. So, that's from sources like the Mental Health Foundation, Mind, the mental health charity. So there's lots of studies that show there's a huge issue in this area. So, hopefully, like I said, resources from this session today will help yourselves to take steps to prevent that from escalating. So another point of why workplace wellbeing is so important is that it improves performance. So workplaces that empower good mental health are more likely to see employees take pride in their work as well, because they're feeling trusted, they're feeling supported, they're feeling like they're being taken care of. It's not just about showing up to work and putting your work self on, or work face, whatever it is. You are a human being. We're all humans. We're complex beings and we have lots going on in our lives, not just in our work. So actually that acknowledgement of looking after your mental health and well-being whilst at work really does create such a positive output and effect on people's feelings towards their managers and colleagues, and as a result, their performance. And finally, lower staff turnover. So, studies also show that when employees feel supported and empowered by their employer, this boosts happiness and motivation at work. So, a really clear indication there that it is vitally important. So, I'd like you to just take a moment to think about what you're already doing really well for yourself in terms of looking after your mental health and well-being and how you're supporting your staff. And what would you like to improve? There's always room for improvement, space to learn, space to grow and develop. So I think it's really important to start from the place of acknowledging how far you've come, because it's very easy to miss that step and just focus on, any challenges that there might be or improvements that you'd like to make. And that's naturally how we're hardwired as human beings. It's where the brain goes to. That stress response in the brain is incredibly powerful, and it's always on hand to detect if there's something that it thinks is a threat or danger or worry or concern, and that's where it goes to first and foremost to protect you. So it's a self-protective mechanism, so to speak. So we have to work hard as human beings to recognize that and almost intercept it and remind ourselves of the positives that's going on around us, or the positives of how far we've come or what we've managed to overcome, etc. So I'd like you to just take a moment, whether you want to note it down or just have a think for yourself. But the act of writing can be a really helpful way to just reaffirm for yourself, and also to make a general note to come back to, and so you don't forget. What are you doing really well? How far do you feel you have come in terms of, trying to make even just little slices of time for yourself, and what that means for you? And what would you like to improve for yourself? So almost like create an intention for yourself now, so that as we go throughout the session, you can have that in mind when we're going through exercises, etc. And this can also be a really great question for you to ask for your organization as well. I mean, I think there's likely to be a variety of you on this call. Maybe some of you own your own businesses, or you're, a one-man band, so to speak, one-woman band, or if you are, part of a larger organization. So in whatever way it makes sense to you, but if you are working on behalf of a team, it's a great question to also have as an exercise to do together. I think how, what we're doing really well as an organization in terms of employee well-being and what could be improved. So to start with, I want to begin with a self-compassion exercise. Now, this also refers to a resource that we have on our website, on the Karma website. It's called the Reignite Project. So that's our award-winning campaign where you can sign up for free. So please feel free to check that out after this as well. And you can sign up to receive a 10-week burnout prevention e-course, providing a range of different burnout prevention strategies. And one of the mantras we share on this e-course is stop, breathe, trust. So that's what I'd like to invite you to do today. To just pause. You've come here for a reason today. Just give yourself that permission to just stop whatever you're doing, whatever else is going on. This is your time, and you've given yourself that gift of time to commit to just yourself, your well-being, your personal development, and how you'd like to move forward. So stop being the primary first part. In order to do anything holistically for ourselves and really take care of ourselves in a meaningful way, we do need to give ourselves permission to stop. There's always going to be stuff to do. There's always going to be commitments, deadlines, etc. And it does essentially come down to us as individuals to just say, okay, I'm taking a moment now, or 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is. So stop. But for this exercise, for the purpose of this, just stop literally in the moment, right? So we're not asking a lot. Breathe. I'm going to share a bit more about the benefits of breathing in a moment. We're not just talking about the breathing we do every day, because yes, that's really important to stay alive and function as human beings, but we're talking about conscious breathing. There's so many physiological benefits, and there's been a lot of neuroscience studies to showcase the powerful impact of changing the way that we breathe to calm the nervous system and restore a sense of calm. So that's the next step. So giving yourself permission to stop, giving yourself permission to just slow down the breathing and trust. So I think this is a part also that can get forgotten quite easily, especially when we're so distracted and focused on so many other things and other people's needs, particularly from the perspective of a manager or senior leader, where you have that extra responsibility on your shoulders of supporting other people. Reminding yourself to come back to the present moment when you need to, and reminding yourself to trust in yourself and your instincts, your gut feeling, as the saying goes, because no one can take that from you, and no one knows you better than you to know what you feel is the right thing to do in any given situation. So trusting your feelings, trusting what you feel is right for you, and going from that place. So this is almost like this process: stop, breathe, trust, a really quick mantra that you can tap into anytime, just to remind yourself. And that can literally take seconds to just do that. You can do it in your mind. If you've got lots of stuff going on around you, no one needs to know, or you just do it as an exercise for yourself, where you're actually taking a few minutes to slow down. But it can just be a really helpful anchor to come back to the present moment and just remind yourself to reshift, refocus, and to know that you might need to just take a step back from whatever's going on at the moment. And it's just showing yourself that self-compassion, that self-kindness, that, without you in your position, in your work, for example, a lot of things wouldn't be getting done effectively. You're delegating, you're supporting others. There's so much that you're doing that enables the engine to keep running in that part of the business. So really do show yourself that kindness. So the power of conscious breathing. When we slow down the breath and take time to just breathe in deeply through our nose or mouth, whatever feels most comfortable, taking that deep inhalation of breath and slowly exhaling really provides such a tranquil feeling. So it induces tranquility, but it also improves the structure, physiology, and function of your brain, and also strengthens important connections in the brain. So I'm talking about this because we're going to go on to the stress response here. So when we know this information, it can be incredibly helpful and empowering for ourselves, because it gives us that opportunity to reset. So I mentioned before previously that the stress response in the brain is incredibly powerful. It's called the amygdala. It's a central almond shape, small but very powerful part of the brain. And its primary focus and purpose is to keep you safe and away from danger. That's primarily what it cares about. When that's firing off on all cylinders, it's not actually possible for us, if we're tapping into that part of the brain, to really think logically and think clearly and make effective decisions when we're coming from a place of stress, because we're in reactive mode. We're just reacting in the moment to whatever's happening, perhaps not really thinking about what we're saying and the impact that that might have. So we need to figure out ways to step back from those feelings and the situation that's creating and bringing about those feelings and activating that stress response so highly, and thinking about how we can regulate our emotions and feelings, which is in a different part of the brain, closely linked to the amygdala, but it's called the hippocampus. So that's where our working memory is stored. It's how we regulate our emotions and feelings, and then eventually bring resources back into the prefrontal cortex here, which is the frontal lobe, more human evolved part of the brain. So this part of the brain is where your effective decision-making capabilities come from. It's where you're having your logical thinking, where you're thinking more clearly, being able to plan more effectively. So that's where you need to tap into when responding, effectively in any given situation. And conscious breathing really is one of the many tools that you can look at that help to strengthen those three connections in the brain to work in tandem together. And please give a go of it now. Just take a moment to take some deep breaths in. You'd be amazed at just the quick shift you might notice. So taking a deep breath in through your nose and releasing out the mouth. And do this a few times so that you feel that breath deepen and lengthen and expand throughout the body each time you're tapping into that breathing. So breathing in through the nose if you can, if that's comfortable for you, and then releasing slowly through the nose or mouth. And just each time you take that breath in and release it, just notice how it feels to slow down, to have a bit of peace and quiet as you do so. And notice how it feels in your body, because it's been scientifically proven that it not only improves your respiratory system, but it turns down the dial on that stress response in your brain, enables you to process your feelings a bit more clearly, and slowly start to think more logically. And really importantly, it calms down your nervous system. So if your nerves are feeling really heightened and on edge, taking in some deep inhalations of breath before responding to the situation can really help to calm your nervous system and help you feel a little bit more anchored and in control of what you're doing. Not only that, it also increases oxygen supply to different parts of the body, lowers blood pressure, and releases physical tension. So there are a lot of benefits. This is a quick whistle-stop tour with the time we have today, but I hope that that's helpful to you. So when we're talking about mindfulness-based exercises, meditation-based exercises, breath work, there's a reason why this is so powerful. And it is important to recognize as well that, it's not about trying to quiet the thoughts or get all the thoughts out your mind, because your stress response might be too highly activated. So it's important to be kind to yourself and just recognize when it might feel really difficult to do that. But it is about practice. And the more often that you tap into these types of exercises, the more your body becomes more in tune to responding and feeling more calmed and soothed, to be able to feel in a better position to be able to respond more effectively. So I'm a real fan of micro mindfulness and adding a little dose of this into daily activities, because some of you might be listening thinking, okay, this sounds great, but I really just don't have the time to do any of this. I'm so busy. And I think that's a big issue that a lot of people face nowadays, especially in the working world when you're in a more senior position and have a heightened level of responsibility. So I completely acknowledge that, especially as a business owner myself, I completely, appreciate and kind of understand how that feels as well. So I really do try to share anything that we share at Karma. We do try to practice ourselves as well. And micro mindfulness is about tapping into a heightened state of awareness in your mind, body, and your environment with an attitude of curiosity and kindness to yourself without judgment. But tagging it onto things that you already do in the day is one way to explore this if you're feeling like you're struggling to fit more in. So it's not about trying to cram more into an already busy schedule, either letting go of certain things that maybe aren't serving you as well, like scrolling on social media or whatever it is. If you can honestly say to yourself, actually, I could probably do a bit less of that in a day and instead do a couple of exercises that can soothe my well-being, whatever it means for you. We're all different, but starting with maybe adding on a little bit of micro mindfulness to things that you already do in a day. And that can help you to get into the flow of this practice that we're talking about here of quietening down the stress response and tapping into that space of self-calm. So I'm sure we all boil the kettle at some point in the day. And I think most of you who answered in the chat box earlier are based in the UK. And let's face it, British people, we love our tea, don't we? Our tea and our coffee. So I'm sure at some point you'll be boiling the kettle. Instead of being on your phone, answering an email, doing anything else, why not, as the kettle's boiling, use that time as an opportunity to just stop, breathe, trust, to pause, reflect, take some deep inhalations of breath, just enjoy stillness, not having to be anywhere, do anything, and just sit and wait or stand and wait for the kettle to boil. And just notice the difference in how you feel from the beginning to the end of that kettle boiling. What, 1-2 minutes max, to just see how you feel in that shift in your state, right? So not only that, brushing your teeth. Now, it might feel a bit weird or strange to be breathing in as you're brushing your teeth, so not necessarily suggesting that, but just taking a moment to pause and reflect. Again, not being on your phone at the same time or doing something else at the same time or cleaning or whatever it is, multitasking away. Just pause and take a step back and reflect. Maybe think to yourself, what are my intentions for the day? What do I want to, come out of today? What would be a meaningful day to me? How am I looking after myself today as well as my team, for example? Going for a walk. Notice the pace of your walk. Could you maybe slow it down just a little bit? And in turn, taking deeper inhalations of breath and seeing how that all feels. Hanging washing. If you are remote working or hybrid working as well, you may or may not, do washing loads in the day because you're at home, it's convenient, you don't have to wait to the evening. So if you are just hanging washing at any part of the day, again, just it could be listening to some music that soothes you, or again, doing a breathwork exercise, but tapping into something that just gives you a sense of calm as you're doing the activity. I got other examples: cooking, cleaning, tidying, things that are musts and needs and things that we do. And a lot of people find a lot of mindfulness in these activities as well, because it can just focus your attention on one thing rather than a lot of things that you've been thinking of all day. So just think about tapping into a breathwork as you're doing those things as well. Heating food or drinking the microwave. This is one of my favorite things to do because you've literally got a countdown timer. So you can literally count down and work with the timer with a breathwork exercise. So these are just some ideas. Feel free to write down or come up with your own ideas as well. But maybe just starting with micro mindfulness can be a way to go about helping yourself. So I'd like you to grab a piece of paper and pen. And it's quite nice to get kinesthetic sometimes, get away from our laptops, our screens. So if you do have that to hand, please, grab that. If you don't, then make a note on your phone or wherever makes sense for you. But I do want you to just take a moment a minute, to just write down a self-empowerment list for yourself. So I've seen there's a raised hand. I'll come to you in one moment. Thank you. So by this, I want you to think about, so by this, what I mean is think about all the things that you do, little things to the big things that help you to de-stress, to feel more calm, to feel more centered, open-minded, to feel like you can take a step back from things. So it can be little things to the big things, as I mentioned before, but just write as many things you can think of that you like to do, activities, something creative, reading, gardening, cooking, spending time with loved ones, meditation, mindfulness, whatever it is for you that helps you to down-regulate that stress response and feel more calm, and as a result, more self-empowered, to make the right choice for yourself after doing that activity. All right, because this isn't about trying to eliminate stress from our lives, because we can't do that. Stress is a part of our lives and it's not always bad, as that perception goes. Sometimes it can be a helpful drive. It can help us focus, motivate ourselves. It can, we can feel proud of ourselves for overcoming a stressful event. So there's an add-on of positivity there. So, but it's about short bursts of stress and coming out of them. So when you notice you're feeling stressed or things are getting to you, tapping into something like this, a list that you can remind yourself of the things that help you to de-stress. It's not eliminating the stress, but it's getting you into a different state of being that helps you feel more empowered and better able to cope with your circumstances. So I'm just going to give you a minute to write down as many things you can think of, as I just come out screen share for a moment. Okay. I think if there's a question, I think I just raised my own hand there. Yeah, if there's any questions that anyone has, please do feel free to share in the chat box, and then when we finish shortly, I'll come to answer those. All right, so just a few more seconds to okay, I've worked out how to lower my hand now. Joys of tech. So feel free to just wrap up what you're writing now. I'll go back to screen share. Okay, and this is really supposed to be an active list that you come back to anytime that you need to remind yourself of the things that help you to feel more empowered. Okay, and hopefully reminded you of things that bring you joy. So why not start thinking about how you can sprinkle those into your days and weeks a bit more moving forward. So finally, ways to set healthy boundaries as a manager. So also in a way of protecting your time and in a sense of supporting yourself to have some healthy boundaries in place so that you can feel more empowered to look after your well-being and feel stronger to look after other people as well. Just a few things to note. Acknowledge your energy levels. So if somebody is coming to you for support, for example, and you're feeling absolutely depleted of energy that day for whatever reason, didn't get enough sleep, or whatever it is, and you've just got a lot going on, really acknowledge your energy levels and how best you can support that person in that moment. So if it's not urgent, maybe try to ask if there's a time where you can speak to them a little bit later in the day or another time when you feel like you can give more. And obviously if it's urgent, you do what you can, to support them in that moment. But just take a moment to acknowledge how your energy levels are feeling. Practice saying no. However, I know for many of us, it can feel very difficult to say no. And so, we're a fan of adding on to that. So it's not just a straight no to people. If you know you need to protect your time, you've got too much going on, there's all sorts of requests coming left, right, and centre for you, and you just can't do them all. It's a practice to engage in saying no, but why not add however to it? So, for example, however, I could help next week, or I can help at this time, just not now. Or I'm at capacity. I'd love to help, but I can't do it at the moment. Or no, however, can this person help you instead? Or however, is there someone else who can support with this other than me? So think about solutions that you can try to give the person. For example, if someone's requesting something from you and you're just at capacity, so no, however, as a tool, and just revisit your self-empowerment list. Remember, it is there as a resource for you to always come back to remind yourself to just take micro mindfulness breaks, micro bits of time for yourself to just step back, regroup, and recalibrate what your needs are. Okay, so what I'd like to do now as we finish up is to think about what are your next 3 steps. So there's lots of information that's been shared in a short space of time today. What are the 3 key takeaways that stand out for you? What are your next 3 steps following this session that's going to help you to feel more empowered to support your own well-being, and as a result feel better able to support your team and your community around you? Okay, so how are you going to reset, recharge, and reconnect for yourself? So you can use those 3 words as well. What way do you feel you're going to reset? What way do you feel you're going to recharge? What way do you feel you're going to reconnect to what's most important to you? All right, so just take a moment to write that down for yourself as well. And then we'll have a few minutes before we wrap up. Okay, just in the interest of time, I'm just going to wrap up, but keep writing your intentions down. We'd love to stay connected with you all, of course. So thank you so much again for signing up to this event today in recognition of Mental Health Awareness Week. I mentioned at the beginning briefly, we recently launched our first online managers course designed for time poor professionals, for managers and senior leaders, to have a 2-hour online course on the fundamental foundations of managing mental health at work. And that is both for you and your team and staff. It goes through best practices, so much information. So this is the link for that. Please do feel free to check it out. This is just scratching the surface, just a small insight today of what we've covered, and I really hope it's helped you all. Feel free to take a look at our online course, and in recognition of Mental Health Awareness Week for this month, we're offering a very special 20% reduction on the course price. So do take advantage of that while you can. You can find more inspiration, insights, and research via our blog, the Karma blog. So this has over 150 articles on there written by ourselves and guest writers on all sorts of topics around workplace wellbeing, burnout prevention, managing anxiety, etc. We also got a podcast, 3 seasons and 40 episodes, interviewing a range of incredible speakers. It's hosted by myself. I absolutely loved doing every episode. So loads of insights and inspiration there. And you can connect with us on social media at This Is Karma and at Tanya Diggory on LinkedIn and Instagram. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. As we always say at Karma, here is to your inner and outer success, not just what people see on the outside, but what's also going on the inside. So thank you very much. I'm just going to come out of screen share now. And if there are any questions anybody has, do please feel free to ask. Otherwise, I really hope that you found this session helpful, empowering, insightful. And it's been an absolute joy to connect with you all today. And thank you for coming together. Thank you so much, Michelle. Appreciate that. I hope you've all enjoyed that. And yes, like I say, any questions, just let me know. Thank you, Laurie, Stephanie, Tommy. Thank you, Paul and Luke. Have a wonderful rest of the week, everybody. And as I said, thank you, Annette. This will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so do feel free to share, spread the word with others who think may benefit too. All right. Thank you so much, Sarah, and another Sarah. Take care, everybody.